Hello, buddies. Welcome to episode number 46. My view on books. You're watching MaddiE with MaddiE. Who's that MaddiE? I'm that MaddiE. It's Monday morning. Evening. I lost track of time in my mind. So, yeah, I want to talk about this very horrifying and scary book. Actually, it was really horrifying reading this book. And I started hating mushrooms after reading this book. So I thought, okay, anybody who's going to read this book, they'll be like, they're going to hate mushrooms. Already. I have come across many vegetarians, they don't eat mushroom because it tastes like fish. But I like mushroom. Mushrooms are my favorite. But then after reading this book, I'm gonna remember the story. All right. Hope my audio is good. Let me check once. Yep, it's perfect. So the book I'm gonna talk about is you're already reading the title, but then I'll bring you the cover. Yep, it's here. Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So, as the title goes by, the story is set in Mexico. The actual pronunciation is Mexico. So, how do we read this title? Mexican Gothic. Yeah, so it's a very gripping as well as suspenseful story, I would say. Very, very interesting. And horror is my second favorite genre. So, thriller is my first, and horror is second. I enjoy watching horror movies, and I watched almost like 100 more than 100 horror movies, and I have a collection too. So yeah, reading about horror books, I think this year or last year, towards the end of last year, I picked up this habit because I didn't know that there were good horror stories, and reading horror stories would also be as good as watching horror movies. It may not be as scarier as the movie watching experience, but reading a book also kind of disturbs you mentally because you read it and you visualize it and imagine it, so it's almost like creating your own movie. So the story is simple, okay? So as usual with all of the horror stories, there is house, and our lead character goes into the house and she ends up getting trapped. But the characterization and the background stories are really good, convincing, and scary. It's pretty much realistic, I think, based on some real facts. So it is set in 1950s, and there is our lead character, what do you say, a female lead. So her name is Naomi. Naomi, yeah, Naomi. I forgot the family name. So Naomi. So Naomi is like a teenager, and she's like almost Adam's Family, Wednesday from the Wednesday series, and she's like a partying girl. She has a boyfriend and goes to parties, and she's like her father is doing a paint job, so she kind of knows all about painting, and so what happens is they receive a letter. So her father receives a letter from Catalina, who used to be a cousin, and who is a cousin, and she's married to Doyle. Doyle is the husband name and the family name. So she's staying with her husband's family in a house, high house, which is like far away from the city that Naomi is there. So Naomi and Katerina grew up together, so they are like very much affectionate of each other. And after marriage, they were not able to get in touch much. So this letter is like, I am feeling haunted. I feel like my in-laws are like trapping me, and I want to get out of this house. So it's a kind of very panicking letter. Okay, so his father is kind of worried, and he requests Naomi to go to the high house and then check the situation, like what's happening with Katerina, or maybe she's just having a mental breakdown and she wrote this letter in a very what do you say, haste manner, something like that. So he wants Naomi to go and check what happened, what's happening in the high house, and what's the state of Katerina. So this is how the story starts. So this is the inciting instance where the letter makes her father, Naomi's father, to send Naomi to go and check Catalina on a remote, let's say very very secluded and isolated place, and she kind of agrees because she feels like the father is testing her with a challenge. Okay, so she's very brave and courageous and also naughty, and she's kind of having that ADHD, not able to concentrate on one particular thing. So she has this revolting or rebelling character, and her father is some way putting that to good use by giving her a challenge or an assignment, go check, because your character is so rebelling. You would not be like, you not be convinced by others, or like, cannot be dominated. So you go check what's the situation, then tell me, and we'll see what we can do. Because it's a love marriage. Katrina fell in love with Doyle, and then she got married. So Katerina comes with a lot of inheritance, so this could be a inheritance issue also, right? So some suspicion is going on in the father's mind, and he sends Naomi to the high house. So this high house is located in a village hill, near a village, so it is like uphill, and you can see every haunted house in a horror movie or story would be uphill, and there is no exception to that. So this high house is also high place, I think they call it high place. So it's situated on a hill near a village, and she goes there. Francis Doyle, the cousin of what do you say, the husband, Catalina's husband, comes to pick her up, and she goes to the house. There are like very peculiar characters like Florence, and then Catalina's husband Virgil, and Howard, the patriarch, very old, and he almost looks like a creature. He doesn't look like an old man, but he looks like some creature, like fully what do you say, the skeletal, almost skeletal, with aged skin and wrinkles. So it's like disgusting to even watch. But he's the patriarch, and so this is the kind of situation. So there are some rules in the house, like she should not smoke, and then she should not speak aloud, and it has to be quiet always, because Howard is very old, and he doesn't like loud sounds. And Catalina is always kept in her room, and she wakes up only for particular hours where she's given food to eat, and she's not allowed to come out of the room. So, and when Naomi comes, even she is forced to obey this rule. She cannot meet Catalina whenever she wants. So whenever she's awake, and when Florence allows her to go and check on Catalina, only then she goes and checks. So this is the situation that is being what do you say, Naomi is in. So she's like a vibrant, vivacious girl, but then this place is completely contrasting to her character, like very reserved, silent, and then no activity at all, like full completely absolute pin drop silence, and she's not able to be herself. And slowly she starts having nightmares, and she actually feels that there is a, what do you say, the house is haunted. There is the evil phenomena, or like supernatural phenomena going in the house. She kind of feels the walls are coming off from the house, and then like there's a golden mushroom she always sees in her dream, and also she's having sexual dreams as well. So what is the story behind the Doyles and the house? So if you see the movie set in 950s, and when they're revealing about the Doyles, it's a family that came from England during the late 18th 19th century. So they were looking to mine silver in this place, and they used a lot of Mexican workers, and there were a lot of rains and floods, and mysterious sickness, and it was like a cursed family, and the silver mine eventually kind of failed. So they are only having those properties, and what do you say, their wealth is also kind of fading, and that's the reason they took Catalina, the guy, Virgil Doyle. He kind of somewhat manipulated Catalina, and then married her and took her to her house so that she could be controlled, and eventually all her property would come in. And also there is racism. So they were there's a huge background story where the for 200 years they were like getting married, getting what do you say, marrying the sisters and cousins, so that the blood is maintained pure. And that's the reason that they had to do maintain this purity in blood, because the civil supernatural phenomena will come into picture. So it's a very mysterious story that is being revealed step by step over the course of the whole book. So if you see, the book is around 300 pages, so it's a good length for a good horror movie, and it develops slowly. So we kind of get into Naomi's character, like she's vibrant, she's like a teenager, and then parties, and she going to a very mysterious and peculiar place called High Place, which is completely contrasting to her character and how she is like gelling with other characters. So the only person whom she can relate to is Francis, because Francis is also like a teenager and he's like from village. So she is comparing a guy like him to the guys in cities. So I like that comparison, how there are like, people grew up in village and cities, and it's more like a, what do you say, female oriented story and feminist story, and I loved reading it, especially the horror factor, yeah, and the background stories. As you have listened, it's a very simple story, a haunted house, and then a lead character is entering into the haunted house and she's getting trapped. It looks like a cliched and typecasted story, but then the background of the house and the family and Naomi's, the lead character's characterization, how such a vibrant and vivacious girl gets into this house and transforms. Almost it's the story is ending up like she almost gets haunted, but then how she escapes from the house, and did she accept the love of Francis, the village boy? And that's the ending of the story. I liked it. It was completely satisfactory, and also it may not be as scarier as any other horror book that I've read very few, like maybe five or six. Also, out of all those five or six, this may not be the most scariest story, but it was reading good. A good suspenseful mystery and with horror elements, especially when she has this nightmares. The nightmares, is the writing in the nightmares. Writing about the nightmare was so good that you kind of, you know, imagine and visualize what it would be. And I started hating mushrooms. So, yep, when I see mushrooms, it's disgusting now, but then, yeah, it's something that is, it could be individualistic. So, you should read it for the story. And I don't know, I started reading books written by women more, and then I'm getting more good recommendations, especially stories like this, The Pull of the Stars. The previous book that I had talked about was Pull of the Stars, I guess, and then uh, Kate Mouse, this Winter Goes. So there's a lot of goods, and I need to explore horror genre as well as books written by female authors, because I would like to explore, how they think as a woman, how the stories come and creativity. So I want to explore all dimensions. So yeah, this is a very good novel. Do check it out. The Amazon preview link is there in the description, and also Goodreads link is there. Do recommend me. I'm almost running out of time to read books, so I have reduced my book reading time. I will try to catch it up and come with more books for our episodes. We are almost near the 50 mark, 46th episode. So four more books and we'll be hitting 50. And yeah, I'm really proud, because on this age, technological age, where your screen time has been reduced to 30 seconds or like 10 seconds, and we are into watching stuff on mobile, reading is like what do you say, precious habit to have, like a diamond. Is a diamond habit. You can compare the habit of reading to diamond. It's so rare and prestigious and precious. So yeah, I would be really proud that I've not only read hundreds of books, but then I've also talked about 50 books on live streams, or in my channel. So yes, I would like to achieve the feat. So do check out all other book episodes. This is a very good book. I have the book, and yep, I would like to read some quotes on it. Yes. So the Doyle house, high house, is on the mountains, as said, near a village. So they describe the mountain. The mountains offered mineral riches and a quick death. So it doesn't. It not only offered wealth but also death. So that's what they say. Offered mineral riches and death. Uh, yes. So the writing, I would say, researching part. So Naomi's father is someone who's into the dyeing industry, which is related to paints, house painting stuff and all. So she kind of growing up, and she knows such things, what's how do you mix paints to get different colors, and she's describing one at this instant. They passed next to the stained glass window, which Naomi noted featured a bright, stylized flower. Cobalt oxide had been used to create the blue of the petals. She knew things. The paint business, as her father put in, had provided her with an endless array of chemical facts which she mostly ignored and which nevertheless stuck in her head like an annoying song. So yeah, just growing up under her father, like him being in the dyeing industry and painting and all, she knew about that stuff more because I love this story. I would like to. Yes, she kind of sees the photo frames in the house, and she's like, Naomi felt the eyes of all the family members on her. Her presence was a novelty and an alteration to their patterns. An organism introduced into a sterile environment. They waited to hear what she revealed and to analyze her words. Well, let them see what that she could keep her cool. She had experience dealing with irritating men. They did not fluster her. She had learned by navigating cocktail parties and meals at restaurants that showing any kind of reaction to their crude remarks emboldened them. So, as I was saying, the house is run by patterns, right? Like every time you have at a meal at certain time, and everybody has to be in this room, and there should be no silence, no smoking inside the house. All these rules. So she's like something new, alien introduced into a new environment. So that's how they're comparing. So she's used to irritating men, like she is navigating cocktail parties and meals at restaurants. So she knew to deal with irritating men. And this Catalina's husband Virgil is one of those irritating men that she has to deal with. And the whole thing of all these things, she feels like the she could lose her cool, but then she want to prove that her father has sent her to this house for a particular assignment, so she has to pass on that, so she has to keep her cool. And yep, next one. Yes, as I was describing the walls, like in a corner of a room, there was a bit of mold upon the wallpaper that caught her eye. She thought of those green wallpapers so beloved by the Victorians that contained arsenic. Arsenic is a poisoning element. uh, the so-called Paris and Sheely greens. And wasn't there something in a book I read? She read once about how microscopic fungi could act upon the dyes in the paper and form arsenic gas, sickening the people in the room. So even arsenic in gas form is highly pernicious. She was certain she had heard about these most civilized Victorians had been killing themselves in this way. The fungi chomping on the wall, paste in the wall, causing unseen chemical reactions. She couldn't remember the name of the fungus that had been the culprit. Latin name danced at the tip of her tongue, Brevia, Brevicalvil. But she thought she had these facts right. Her grandfather had been a chemist, and her father's business was the production of pigments and dyes, so she knew to mix zinc sulfide and barium sulfate if you want to make lithophone and a myriad of other bits of information. Well, the wallpaper was not green, not even close to green. It was a muted pink, the color of faded roses with ugly yellow mela- medallions running across it. Medallions or circles, when you looked at it closely, you might think they were breaths. She might have preferred the green wallpaper. This was serious, and when she closed her eyes, the yellow circles danced behind her eyelid, flickers of color against black. So yeah, when she sees this wall, she's kind of feeling kind of sick, and she's so this is a particular segment where they are attributing the supernatural element in a scientific manner. Like there is a fungi which reacts with paint or dye in the chemical. So in Western countries or in foreign countries, usually they go for wallpaper, right? We kind of paint, but they go for wallpaper and then paint on it. So there is this fungi which kind of reacts with the wallpaper, and releases arsenic gas, and it could sicken people. So she's kind of speculating, what is causing the nightmares, and why is she feeling sick after coming to the house, mentally sick, not physically sick, but then mentally sick. So she even starts sleepwalking at certain point of the after coming to the house. So it's like a habit that she had in childhood, and after that it was like okay, but then it came again. And yeah, so a lot of things like about like how they try to scientifically explain the supernatural element or the horror element. I liked about it. So there's so many. You see, I have made so many bookmarks. I would keep on going. It's a very good story. I would recommend it to any novel enthusiasts who would like to read novels. This is a horror novel, so do read it. 300 pages, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Yes, and it's available on Amazon or any bookstore that you run into your town or city. Do purchase and read it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Do comment if you want me to review any books or talk about any books. I would be happy to do it. So until the next live stream, stay tuned. This is Maddie Dawson. You're watching MaddiE with Maddie. Bye bye.